shit. What up? Okay, yeah, so, I mean, this is Hotline Miami, and, I guess I'll just start off by doing countdown. 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so yeah, so this is Hotline Miami 1, the right number. So, yeah, Hotline Miami is a top-down action game, and it's fast-paced. This is not Mr. Shifty, even though that game is much better. So, yeah, this game is kind of fun, or whatever. Also, make sure to use all 75 of my emotes on Frank Facey. I earned that, so use the privilege of all my 75 emotes. That would really help me out, boys. But, yeah, so, Hotline Miami, it's in, the first level is pretty easy. Basically, I'm using the Tony mask, though, if you want to get good, you should use the Brandon mask, which makes you move at 134% speed, 2.6 speed / 1/3 faster than normal. Tony just gives us the lethal fist ability, which means we can kill people with our fists, and also we have instant executions, except for people like that. And yeah, so the goal of this game is basically to get to the car. So, like in Portal, how you just try to get to elevators, our goal is to get to the car. But in this category, it's called New Game Plus All Levels, and basically what we have to do is, so usually, like, if this is, any percent is not the most ran category in Hotline, just because it's like really boring and not as good. So the most popular category is this one. And basically what the category means is that you have to see every screen in the game. So what I mean by that is like usually and there are certain skips, like on 2 levels we can skip most of the level, but we are not allowed to do that because of the rules of this category. And also you're not allowed to do quitting to the menu in between levels to speed up the process of switching between levels. We have to see all the screens that a normal playthrough would see, basically. Yeah, the name of the category is kind of bad, and that's not my fault. I got here a little late to name the category. But yeah, so basically, as you see, minor thing with text selection, you just always want to hold right click and then spam left click. It's a really easy way, that's the fastest way to possibly get through all text. You don't even have to think about it. If the text takes too long, holding down right click will skip it, and then if it's really short enough where you can just spam it out, then it'll go way quicker. So the fastest way is just to do what I just said. And also, as you notice, we're going to be using a lot of guns. And also, there's like subtle like movement undoing to bait the enemies into a more predictable pattern. Because like everything in this game is RNG. I mean, like the bullet spread is random. A lot of the enemies' movements are random. The way that enemies move around is random. When I mean movement, like if after you bait them, it's kind of random. Yeah, there's like a lot of randomness in this game, so it's really, you just gotta be able to adapt to what the situation is gonna give you. Also, as you notice, I put on the soundtrack in the background instead of having it through the game, just because otherwise you hear like 40 seconds of the song and then it stops. And I want to actually be able to listen to the real music. And yeah, so and now coming up here, this is Decadence. It's like one of the first like actual levels, and you're seeing like all these like different things. Like you saw how, ooh, I got roasted. I just used the hostage trap, but that's besides the point. Like, this is the fastest way we have found to do this level, where you basically like throw a weapon up in the top right, up to that guy right there. Oftentimes it doesn't go in the right spot, so you can die quite easily. And then, as you see, like a lot of these things are just, you have to be able to peek sightlines very carefully, because another thing that's also random is enemy reaction times. Enemy reaction times can go anywhere between 1 frame and never reacting ever. So you gotta always be prepared for 1 frame reaction times. Also, that was a little too cheeky right there. Yeah, you also normally shoot this guy 3 times, but if you, on the second shotgun shot, you can just go hover over him and it'll basically think as if you had shot him 3 times. And it skips any of the text. Also, every time you spin the hooker, you move exactly 1 pixel forward in the direction you're moving. So you want to spin as much as possible, and it's an invalid route if you do not spin the hooker. Those are called hooker rotations, and it's really important for anyone that ever wants to run this game. It is actually the most important thing you can ever learn. Also, as you probably noticed, there's nothing in terms of movement tech really, other than like just knowing where to stand and like how to bait people. However, there is a minor thing. If you've been noticing, I've been going into all transitions with my right arm first. That is exactly 1 frame faster than any other method. If you go into the door facing forward or facing left, like with your left arm, it's exactly 1 frame slower than if you do your right arm. And if you go in backwards, it's 2 frames slower. And the consequences of that is that actually you can use that to your advantage because it means that your hitbox is slightly different. And with that, we can use that to slightly change the way that the enemies see us. So if you go in with your right arm first, they're going to see you first than if you go in with your left arm. And also, as you notice, there's like a lot of these things like where I'm making sure to hit the cycles in very predictable manners because this game is very cycle-based, like the speedrun is. You want to be able to hit cycles because if you don't, then you just start losing a lot of time. You can usually ignore a lot of the cycles, but it's just so much faster if you try and hit them. But yeah. And also, these score screens, actually you could do a run to reduce the number of text screens. Each text screen is a set amount of time, and those are given in predictable manners. So I mean, you could run through the level in a specific way to get less text boxes, but in terms of RTA, it's basically not even worth it to do it. However, you do want to try and get as high of a combo as possible just to reduce that if you can. But it's more important that you just don't die because it saves such a minimal amount of time. However, on very long levels, it can actually add up to be quite a lot, and it's kind of crazy. And also here, seeing as I'm Tony, I don't need to use the crowbar. It's just the crowbar is like the best freaking melee in this game, and it just feels so good. But yeah, it's the best melee weapon that exists. And if we were using like any other mask besides Tony, you would have to use it to kill people. Because if you're not Tony, as I already explained, then you can't kill people with your fists. Also, right there, that door is I'll just go back. Yeah, that. It just doesn't go up, which is a real pain in the ass, because doors eat... If a single pixel of a bullet is adjacent to the door, then it eats the bullet instantly. So, it's a real pain to get in there and kill those guys, especially because the guy on the right side of that room often has 1 frame reaction times, or like very close to it. So you have to be like really careful, because he'll just destroy you instantly. It's also really important to hold shift throughout the run, because shift lets you look further, and of course being able to see things ahead of you, because after you've played this game for as long as I have almost 600 hours in this game, or like after you speedrun anything for long enough, you kind of have a good feel for everything is, but being able to see what is happening in front of you is often more beneficial than knowing what's directly happening in, like, what you're doing. And also just being able to like see down further. Like here it doesn't matter, because no matter where I look, they're too far away. But yeah. Also, that strat's actually kind of slightly hard, but nothing to really talk about there. Ooh, that was interesting. Yeah, so in Hotline Miami, the main way we go about completing levels is because basically every level except for 1, you have to kill every single person to proceed to the next bit. We want to reduce the amount of time we're moving places, so that because of course movement takes a lot of time. And so, especially with Tony, you want to make sure that you're reducing the amount of time you're walking to a place and optimize that so that you're killing people as much as possible, rather than just walking around, going to the people. You want to bring them to you. So with that, we have to use guns. Now with Brandon, which is the mask I talked about that goes 134% speed, you generally want to go to the enemies because they're very slow. They move at the same speed as Tony, so you want to go to them rather than waiting for them. And also, I didn't mention this, but the reaction times of the enemies is slightly different based on the weapon that they're using. So if they're using a double barrel, their reaction times are much faster than if they use an assault rifle oftentimes. Again, a lot of this is just RNG, because this game is just riddled with it. But it's still something you gotta keep track of while you're playing. Also, another thing that's RNG is how fast those fat guys die. You can speed it up if you hit as many pellets on them as possible. Eventually they will die, but it's just slightly random how long it takes. It's because the bullet, especially with the bullet spread being random. Now coming up here is the biker fight. This is the first like actual fight of the game. And it doesn't matter if I move over slightly here, just because no matter what, you're still moving up. But so this is a really easy fight, except when it's not. What I mean by that is like, there's this weird glitch that can happen where the knife does a thing called clanking, or makes a clank sound, and then he will instantly kill you, and you have no way of avoiding it. It's a way we assume it's their way of avoiding like him being stuck out of bounds, like where he would get just stuck, but it's a real pain in the ass. But you can reduce the chance of that happening if you make sure that the knife is thrown at an angle, and not near any of the corners, or these gold nipples, or behind this table. And we didn't get it, which is rare, because like, I did a few DRS runs, and every single one of them, of course I got it. I also haven't played this game in like 2 months, or more, so I'm a tad rusty. And also, yeah, I mean, I really wish I could be running Mr. Shifty right now, but a certain Mr. Boix refused to allow that. I know it might seem like there's no reason for us to be like I know most games have like any percent as their like most popular category, and as I said, this is the most popular category, even though this is like 4 minutes longer than the next most popular category, which is NG any percent, new game any percent, rather than new game plus any percent. It's just so much more enjoyable, and if you ever run this game, you would kind of figure that out yourself. Also, fun fact, I'm the only person on the Hotline Miami leaderboard that has run every single category that's on there. Also, I'm a super moderator, which just means that I hate my life and I spend too much time on speedrun.com. Just don't be me. It's that easy. Also, at the Boix, when is Mr. Shifty? Also, when is Hotline? Also, whenever you're talking to someone new, just say, when is Hotline? And then wait for them to say what, and then proceed, then just, like, you know, send them the link to the speedrun.com for Hotline Miami. It works out for me. Trust me. It's per strat. Also, as you probably noticed, when is Hotline is a good meme. It's not a meme. Like, literally, when are you gonna run Hotline? I'm not even memeing right now. Yeah, well then do it, my dude. Hotline is actually like a really... That was probably because you're running the original version. Okay, so another minor thing about speedrunning this game. There are 2 versions of Hotline Miami because the developers of this game are retarded. They're Denison Games, which is Dennis and Jonathan Soderstrom. Dennis Whedon or whatever. Yeah, they're 2 like Swede boys that don't know how to make games, and their programming is terrible. I've decompiled this game. It's really bad. Trust me. I'm an expert. No, but for real, this game has a lot of issues with it. And I'm pretty sure it was an accident that it was this good. But yeah, it's also like exactly terrible. Like it's both amazing and terrible at the exact same time. And I don't know why I play it. But yeah, so there's an updated version of this game, which basically it was a company called Abstraction Games. They port games. Well, because this game was originally made in Game Maker 7. Which is a really bad like game creation tool, studio, like whatever it is. And then basically then Abstraction Games was contracted in like 2013 to remake the game to be like ported into C++, so that it would actually run well. Which the original version crashes like way too often. Like on average, you'll crash twice in like a 30-minute time period. And it crashes even more often if you ever like quit out of a level. So basically, NG plus all levels came about because of that, because any percent in the original version of the game was basically impossible because it would just basically crash like every 4 minutes. It was ridiculous. This game is really easy and it's really hard. The enemies are both exactly predictable and completely unpredictable at the same time. This game is an anomaly, and I hate playing it. But I also love playing it. Like, every minute I'm hating it, I'm also loving it. But I'm really just hating it. But also run this game. But seriously, don't run this game. And I'm not even bipolar, like, that's just how it is. You can't like this game, and you can't love this game. You can't be neutral with this game, you just gotta exist. There's nothing really to say. And also, I mean, I kind of don't even think about playing the game anymore, I just kind of do it, it's kind of weird. But, like, a lot of these things you're seeing me doing, like, so, the really interesting thing about Hotline Miami speedrunning is that everyone does, plays through the game slightly differently. Like, we have slightly different strats. Like, in general, like, in general, when you're running Hotline versus most games where you just want to, you know, learn, like, the one strat and then maybe a backup strat, you want to know as many possible ways about beating, like, going through a level as possible so that you can adapt to whatever's happening. Because depending on your weapons, on the different guns you get, the different melee weapons, where the enemies are, you want to be able to play through the level in slightly different ways. However, there's a caveat to that. In certain places, it's just so much faster to just like die or just like wait a little bit to do that strat, just because it's so much more consistent or just so much faster. Yes, I agree. Embrace the Hotline void. Duke_Bilgewater is the reason that you have the category named New Game Plus all levels. He's also the reason that people did not run the Brandon mask until like 2015. And he has fully admitted it. He is our boy, but he is simultaneously the worst runner that's ever happened, just because he stifled the speed of this game. Also, fun fact, on the speedrun.com I went back and like submitted everyone's, like a bunch of people that were never on the speedrun.com to have their, a bunch of the people there never submitted their times, so I decided to go back and like crawl through the history of Hotline speedrunning world records, and you can tell, like, based on the graph, like, is generally, if you know anything about statistics, generally the graphs of things going down is like a nice, like, it's an exponential, like, decrease, so it's like a nice, like, curve going down, like, yeah. But if you can actually see when the game, like when New Game Plus all levels, which was originally actually, fun fact, that's what they used to call any percent, was just playing through it this way. So yes, any percent used to be literally New Game Plus. But yeah, you can see when people decided to stop being idiots and renamed it and did everything correctly. It's actually interesting. And it just so happens to line up with the updated version of the game, which made any percent running actually viable, so people went back and changed the names. Also, the main thing about this game is that it's not like most other speed games, like, for real. It's far more execution and, like, skill-based. Like, it's more about how well you can play the game, like, casually, than it is about executing specific, like, glitches, or like shooting a portal in the correct spot or something like that, or just, you know, ABHing LBJs, all that stuff, which makes it like a really fun speedrun, because you can always, whenever you boot it up, it's going to play pretty much differently. Whereas, like, if you play something like, let's say, I don't know, Portal, it's pretty much a lot more similar than Hotline runs, basically. Oh, and also the music for this game is like way better than any other game, but, you know, that's obvious. Also, Hotline 1 is actually a good game. Don't ever fucking run Hotline Miami 2 wrong number. It has the wrong number in the name for a goddamn reason. It's terrible. It is one of the worst speed games that's ever existed. Anyone that says otherwise is just wrong. Oh, and also the soundtrack for Hotline 1 is better, because that is exactly what I said. Literally, it's. Do you know how easy it is to get Super Mario Brothers 1 world record? It's so easy. There's like no RNG. There's only Bowser RNG. I mean, come on. There's 2 people with world record right now. I mean, how hard could it be to get a 456? I mean, let's be real. Darvian put like what, 5 minutes in the game? Like, come on. Easy, easy. Hotline Miami is literally the definitive speed game. Not memeing. Literal truth. Oh, and also, also, if you want to see TASes of this game, just go check out my YouTube. I have one. Also, Pepsi Man takes no skill. And anyone that runs Pepsi Man is a man who just refuses to run Hotline. And no one likes a man who refuses to run Hotline. Am I right? Oh, and also the soundtrack for Hotline 1 is definitively better than Hotline 2. Hotline 2 soundtrack is also really good, but the issue with Hotline 2 soundtrack is that a lot of the songs kind of blend into each other because it's rather generic, like electro house and like deep house type stuff, where it's like really good to like play the game to, but like if you try and listen to it just by itself, it's like it's fine and all, but like there's not that much of variety. The music in Hotline 1 is a lot more experimental and uses a lot better like synths, and like the melodies are generally just more complex and better like structured. Whereas like in Hotline 2, it's all just all out like just loud noise, which can be good, and it is good in like the game for the most part. But Hotline 1 is just so much more experimental and has much better melodies. And if you disagree, just leave, okay? These are facts, not opinions. If you like Hotline 2 soundtrack better, just GTFO. See, my main thing with speedrunning is like I know this is a hot thing that most people don't like. RNG is like one of the most important things to making a speedrun fun to play. Like it's both like the worst thing and the best thing, because like this game would be so fucking shit, and no one that's ever ran it would ever like run it as long as we have if there wasn't any RNG. Just because like it would just get so repetitive for certain games. I mean, like in certain games, yeah, it's cool to be able to have like perfect no RNG so that it just plays through. But at the same time, then it just becomes like I'm just doing the exact same thing over and over. Whereas this at least feels like it's different every time. That being said, I do play games that have no RNG, so I mean, and also a lot of the things in this are not RNG. But it's a bit disingenuous to say that a speed game with a lot of RNG is a bad speed game. Because I mean, a lot of people like running Binding of Isaac and other games like that, no problem, because it's just different strokes for different folks, my dudes. But also, don't ever run fucking Hotline 2. That's just, but seriously, just don't. It has wrong number in the name. Oh, and also, do run Mr. Shifty. It's a better version of Hotline Miami. If you disagree, you're wrong. Also, if you run Hotline Miami, you also have to be a giant memer. If you are very serious at any point, then you're just not doing the game correctly. If you're not constantly saying that you hate the game while playing it, then you're not actually a Hotline speedrunner. However, if you actually do want to run this game, do make sure to check out the speedrun.com. I put a lot of resources and other things on there. There's forum posts, etc. It's a pretty well... It also looks pretty. I think my theme is pretty nice. And if you disagree, you're just wrong, because it looks real nice. But yeah, so everyone should run this game. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, if you don't have this game, just hit me up. I can get you a copy of the game for free, because I refuse to let Denington have any more money for their shitty programming, and also because they outright refuse to fix bugs in both games. They've been asked like multiple times since like a few months after the release of Hotline 2 to fix a major bug called the weapon pickup glitch, which basically means that when you're near a wall, you just can't pick up weapons sometimes. And they've pointed out 3 different times in Twitter that they know it exists. Like, they responded, yes, we're working on it, and then never did it. Oh, and also, if you just look through their source code, it's just so bad. Also, their naming conventions are terrible. They don't use camel case quite consistently. Their variable names are disgusting. It's just a mess. Anyone that's ever programmed, just don't look at it unless you want to die. And also, never give this game any credit except for the soundtrack, because that's the only good thing about this game. Basically, the way to run this game is to just hate yourself and hate the game. And then if you're doing that, then you're doing pretty good. Like, you're on track to be a world record holder. And also make sure to randomly spin while holding shift to fuck people's eyes up. No, everyone should watch Hotline Miami speedrunning, and also they should also speedrun the game at least once. Oh, my audio just cut off for a second. That's interesting. Also, I'm really hoping you guys are enjoying those 75 emotes. Shoutouts to Our Boy Sir Stenbeck. Also, if you're not a donator to FFC, could you please change that? Stenbeck puts a lot of effort into it. He updates it quite often. Not sponsored, just trying to help his brother out. Oh, is it like super loud now? Oh, cut me, dude. Hello. Hey. Wait, did the audio get fucked or what? I don't know. I think my audio just like reset itself. Is everything good? Oh fuck. I turned it down a bit. Hold on. Let me also bring down my mic. Is this better? Is this better? Okay, we're good. Alright, cool. Sorry about that, boys. That's what you get for watching Hotline, I think. I don't know. Honestly, that's what you get for not accepting Mr. Shifty to this marathon. Also, make sure to vote for me at GDQ. For the GDQ submissions, if any of you are in the audience are running GDQ. Also, I don't know what happened over there, but let's not look. Because I heard a weird shot, and there's some ketchup in the bottom right. I don't know what happened to that guy, but I don't know why he has a lot of ketchup on his face. It's kind of weird. I don't know what seems to be going on in this weird part of the world, but I don't like it. Yeah, so this is supposed to be the final chapter, but it's not the final chapter. We still have 4 levels to go. So you just press escape a bunch right there. I know, part 5 answers. So now we're gonna be playing as Biker. Now with Biker, you move at 1/6 the speed of plus. So you move at 116.7% speed of normal, which is 1/6 faster than Tony. And you also are always holding a knife, and you cannot pick up any other weapons, but you also have 3 projectile weapons. You have 3 knives that you can throw. Now, there's only 2 levels that are actually have enemies in it, for real. And that was the first one, which is Safe House. And I did something in the beginning of that level where I moved in a specific way such that I would not bait the guy with the shotgun to shoot at me until after I would kill him. It's basically impossible to understand. Like, it's really hard for me to explain, but like most of the best runners and the current world record holder of New Game Plus all levels does it. It's a really interesting strat, but I could not like describe it to you. There's a lot of like small things like that where just minor like knowledge, because like it takes you like a good 200 hours to even start to understand what the AI are kind of doing, and then it takes a lot of time to just like start to understand how you can move yourself such that you get them to react in more predictable ways and more beneficial ways. Because there's just such minute details that are in this game when you start speedrunning it that you just have to keep track of. Oh, god damn it. There we go. Because that's the thing, this game is really just playing the game as best as possible, rather than just, because like in this category we don't do any of the major glitches. So, yeah. But it's still the most enjoyable, just so you can play the game, because that's like what a Hotline runner wants to do, is just be able to play the game. Because this game is like really fun. I mean, if you've ever played it casually, pretty much everyone likes it. Because it's a pretty well-made casual game, and you don't notice all the terrible things about it until you get good. Like, you know, like you will most likely, I have seen people in casual runs die to things they shouldn't have, but they don't realize it. Because, you know, they're freaking filthy casuals. Minor thing right there, I want to not kill that guy until I'm as close to the, what's it called? I want to be as close to right there as possible, that computer, because if I'm not, then I'm moving slightly slower. Aw, shit. I messed that up, but usually you can just, if you're not an idiot like me, you can just, like, because that, when you push that guy through, you saw that I, like, went forward, you can just, like, skip through that whole part, and that saves 8 seconds. And yeah, now we're coming up on the end. This is the last level, and it's just moving around and text selection. So, we're coming up on time. In about 24 seconds. I do a lot of minor things here that save time, like going into here backwards so I can skip an animation. And then we select the top one, and then the bottom three questions, and that's the fastest way to go through. And get ready on time, and time. Yeah, so that's Hotline Miami 1, right number. If you, for some reason, want to run this game, which everyone should, because it's like a really good game to run, make sure to go check out speedrun.com / one second. Because freaking speedrun.com has case sensitive. Yeah, there you go. Speedrun.com /hotline_Miami with capital letters or whatever. Go make sure to check that out. And yeah, this game is really fun to speedrun. It's really fun to play. If you want a free copy of the game, send me a PM. I mean, I don't have those by chance, but if I did, just make sure to send me a PM. I condone piracy. Bye.